Now, everyone knows that aloe vera, is great for treating sunburn, right? But is it beneficial for pets? And if so, how? Let's find out. Hello and welcome to the Natural Animal Podcast. I'm your host, Ruth Hatton. I'm an animal naturopath and mega animal lover in general. Here on the show, we share thoughts and ideas about the nature of animals, their preferences, their behaviours, their ways of being, to engender a greater understanding, respect, compassion and love for all animals, companion, farm and wild. I hope you enjoy this week's episode. And before we get into exploring the beautiful plant that is aloe vera, if you find that you love this episode, that you love going deep into the benefits of herbs, of healing plants and how they can help animals, you're going to love my online course, The Herbal Sessions. It's a pre-recorded, self-paced course that is available for immediate download once you enroll. It contains 6 video lessons, each of them about 1 hour to 90 minutes long. There's a comprehensive course manual that you refer to side by side when you're going through the lessons, detailed profiles of 4 herbs that I consider really beneficial when it comes to supporting animals, some bonus PDF materials that were created at participant request, things like astrological influences of herbs, which is kind of cool, kind of groovy. There are some video demonstrations showing you the different ways that you can prepare herbs for your animals, and extra juicy bonus, it's currently on sale. You can find out more at ruthhatton.com/the herbal sessions, or just go to the website, click on courses in the menu, and you'll see the herbal sessions there. Okay. Let's start learning about and finding out about aloe vera, things that you may already know, but also things that you may not already know. I hope I can surprise you today. So I think I've already got a surprise right at the get-go, right at the beginning. So everyone knows the common name aloe vera. It's also known as Aloe barbadensis, and there's a few other common names, common ways that it's referred to or called. And one of my favorites, wait for it, is star cactus. Isn't that cool? Because it kind of looks like a cactus, but when you look at the plant, it looks like a star, right? Love it. I think I'm going to call it that star cactus from now on, and everyone's going to be like, what are you talking about? Some mysterious, amazing plant that no one else knows about. Aloe vera. So let's look at the plant's environment. Where does it grow? And when we're looking at any kind of herb, we are looking at their environment. We're looking at what it looks like, the plant's appearance, what it's made of, the parts of the plant that are used that have their therapeutic healing benefits. We look at the history, we'll look at the way that it's used in modern times, we look at the energetics, we look at the healing and the health benefits. We also look at the science, and we'll be doing a very brief scientific review of the benefits of aloe today. And what normally doesn't happen, but when we're talking about using herbs with animals, we're also going to be looking at the potential veterinary indications. And they're based on what the scientific literature says. I add a little extra, but I also like to look at the meridians and the organs that are affected. And then, of course, we have to consider the contraindications, the cautions, any drug interactions, and practical steps. How do you actually use it? So that's what we're going to cover today. So first of all, going back to the plant's environment. So it likes dry, hot climates, sandy places and hillsides. So even though aloe likes and thrives in hot and dry climates, its therapeutic effect is actually soothing, cooling, and moistening. So that's opposite to its environment, right? So a hot and dry environment, but it's soothing and cooling and moistening. And that's what's called antipathetic. I probably pronounced that incorrectly. ANTIPATHETIC. It basically means that the healing benefits are opposite to the are opposite to the environment that the plant grows and thrives in. So I find that really interesting. I do nerd out on all of this stuff, by the way. And in my course, the Herbal Sessions, we really nerded out like big time, bigger than what we're doing today. Like this just gives you a very brief snapshot of the way that I like to explore herbs. There's just so much information, so much magic about herbs that I hope you're excited as I am. So what does aloe look like? Well, I'm pretty sure you've seen it, but it's cactus-like and it's quite fleshy. Like when you feel the leaf of an aloe plant, you can really feel that it's quite fleshy. Like it almost feels like a human or an animal. Like it has that kind of, like there's the skin and the muscle and the ligaments and all this stuff happening inside it, right? It has tall green leaves and they're toothed or spiky. And they can produce beautiful flowers that are either white, yellow, pink, or red. Now, I have a gazillion aloe plants, and one of the biggest ones is flowering at the moment. It has this beautiful stem with, I think the flowers are a combination of white and yellow and pink, actually. So yeah, it's quite a pretty plant when it flowers. What is aloe made of? Well, primarily it's made of water and polysaccharides, and then it's got some amino acids, some lipids, some sterols, and some enzymes. So like any kind of plant, there's a lot going on, right? It's never just one thing. It's made up, like the human body, like the animal body, we're made up of these things too, right? So the parts of the plant that is used are, well, there's three parts of the plant that's used. The inner pulp of the leaves is used for its therapeutic benefits. And so within that pulp, we have the gel. And this gel is colorless and transparent. It's usually, what's common if you've got sunburn, right? Applying that gel onto your sunburn or any kind of burn really cools the body down, right? I know I've used it a gazillion times, more so in my younger years. I don't get as burned from the sun so much these days, but I used to. And so aloe vera gel was my friend. The leaf also produces juice. So when you extract the inner layer of the plant's leaves, you get juice. Within the leaf as well, there's latex. And it's the latex of aloe that's often found in laxative medications. There is also another part of the plant that's used, and that's asamanin, which is a polysaccharide. So we'll come back to that later. Now, looking at the history. Now, again, I love nerding out on the history. I haven't nerded out too much on the history here, but one of the things, and most plants do have a long history. When you look at the history of medicinal plants, of herbs, you will see that they often date back thousands and thousands of years. And aloe vera is no different. Its history dates back to 1500 BC in the Middle East and Egypt, ancient Egypt. It's one of the most famed plants of Arabian medicine. And when I think Arabian, I just think of, what's that TV show? Oh my gosh, the woman, she's dressed like a genie. It's called something like I Dream of Genie. And you have like the wish thing. You polish the vessel and you have your wish and the genie pops out. That's what I think of when I think of Arabia. An interesting fact, aloe vera is claimed to be the only plant which survived the Garden of Eden. How cool is that? Now, when we're looking at the history, we do look at its traditional usage. In folk medicine, it has a wide range of indications. It was used for a lot of reasons, a lot of health reasons. Dermatitis, peptic ulcers, tuberculosis, fungal infections, psoriasis, anemia, glaucoma, and blindness. And you'll see this when we have a look at the scientific review of aloe, that actually the science supports those uses. And that's when we see this beautiful merging of history of traditional medicine and modern science, confirming what traditional societies and traditional cultures already knew about the plant. Science is a bit slow in that regard, right? Now, modern use of aloe vera is said to begin in the 1930s, And it was the gel that was found to successfully treat X-ray and radium burns. And when they made this discovery, they decided to do further experiments and found more healing benefits of aloe vera. In veterinary usage, in modern times, it was found to be treating constipation, indigestion, worms, urinary issues, mastitis, skin issues. Externally used as a lotion for the cure of corneal ulcers and keratitis, and using the pulp, applying the pulp as a salve on wounds, sores, bruises, and tumours. So it is used that way in modern veterinary circles. In the Canary Islands, they use aloe vera to treat mastitis. So you find this a lot with particularly dairy cows, especially if they're in a factory farmed environment. They can be prone to mastitis. So by massaging the aloe vera gel into the udder 3 times daily, that's what they do in the Canary Islands to treat mastitis. In Europe, there's an old-time farrier's remedy that was used for horses called aloe balls. It was used for purging and conditioning. So conditioning for training, to aid absorption of food, to improve skin and condition the coat. When horses were coming off grass to undergo training, using horses for colic, and sometimes when it was used as a purgative, it was combined with ginger. Ginger is a beautiful digestive remedy. It helps with nausea. It's a calmative. It calms the gut. So whenever they wanted to purge, to eliminate from the bowels, I don't know if they use it to purge in terms of vomiting, but mostly given what aloe vera does, I'd say it would be more used in terms of purging from the bowels, waste elimination through the bowels. Now, there are reports from the 1920s of dogs being given alterative balls and conditioned pills. And so basically they're making these balls with aloe vera gel and other ingredients to form it into a ball. Sometimes there might be things like flax used. They make them into a ball and they feed them to the dog or they feed them to the horse. In the late 1940s, aloe was recommended as a good, brisk cathartic, beneficial for treatment of colic, hidebound, overloaded stomach or bowels, to expel worms after a vermicide, to promote excretion of waste products from the bowels and the blood. So interestingly, as well as talking about, digestive complaints, expelling worms, but promoting elimination, not just from the bowels, not just the digestive system, not just the feces, but also promoting excretion of waste through the blood. And that's something that you don't really see it being used in the modern era. It was also used as a tonic for the digestive system and to stimulate wound healing, which is what it's most famous for. It was considered, fun fact, it was considered that dogs and cats required as much as 5 to 10 times the dose that a human should have. For farm animals, one of my favorite herbalists, Juliet de Baraclay Levy, she has herbal handbooks for the dog and for the cat and for farm and stable. In her farm and stable book, she talks about aloe being used for the treatment of constipation, indigestion, worms and urinary ailments, and externally for the cure of corneal ulcers and keratitis. Now, I love exploring the energetics of a plant because we are all made of energy, right? All animals, human and non-human, all plants, everything is made of energy. So when we're talking about energetics in light of herbs or of plants, we're talking about things like the taste and the effect that it has in the body. So aloe vera gel is slightly bitter with a cooling and moistening effect in the body. Aloe vera juice is sour and very bitter. It's also cooling. The plant overall is cooling. It has that cooling constitution, that cooling energetic effect. And so it clears heat from the body and it cools the body, including the organs. Like it's cool in TCM, in traditional Chinese medicine. It's recommended or it's indicated for clearing heat and cooling down the liver. So when we're looking at the healing health benefits of a herb, we look at the actions, which are called the clinical actions. And these are basically like, what are the actions of the herb that has healing or health benefits? So, and these are words that are usually only known by people in the herbal or medical profession, because these actions are also used with medicines. It's not just restricted to herbs or plants. So aloe vera has the demulcent action, and that's cooling, soothing, healing, relaxing, gummy and slimy, soothes and heals and protects tissues and mucous membranes of the body. It has the vulnerary action, so it heals wounds and it heals inflammation. It's a stimulant laxative, so it stimulates waste elimination through the bowels. It's a bitter tonic, and that means anything that has that bitter tonic action increases digestive secretions, so secretions from the digestive system, which promotes and assists with healthy digestion. Let's turn now and look at the scientific literature. What does the science say about aloe vera? Well, first of all, the science agrees that it is a laxative, that it has that laxative action, that the juice stimulates colonic motility, that it helps to accelerate bowel movement. It helps to assist with, peristalsis, a muscular movement that causes waste to be excreted out of the bowels. The science supports aloe vera as having wound healing benefits, that it accelerates and promotes wound healing, that it actually has the effect of stimulating macrophages and fibroblast activity, that it hydrates, that it insulates, that it protects, that it's anti-inflammatory, and even that it's analgesic. That means it can relieve pain, inflammation, and lower fever. There was one study done on dogs that showed that aloe vera gel was just as effective as a triple antibiotic treatment when used topically. The science supports its use in inflammatory bowel disease, specifically ulcerative colitis. Now, that was a study done on humans. It supports the use in eye disease, so eye drops containing aloe may be useful for treating inflammation in infection of the external part of the eye, so the conjunctiva, the eyelid ledges, and the cornea. Science supports its use in burn treatment, in anti-thyroid activity. Now, this is a really interesting one, that it has been found that it inhibited serum concentrations of both T3 and T4, so reducing those thyroid hormones, suggesting that it may be used in regulating hyperthyroidism. The science supports its use in grass sickness in horses. And there's the asamanin, that polysaccharide of aloe that I mentioned, has been found in science to help with treating fibrosarcoma and other tumours in dogs and cats in conjunction with surgery and radiation therapy. Feline leukemia, so improving quality of life and survival time. And there's an ingredient in aloe called aloe amodin, and that has anti-leukemic activities. So the aloe asamanin has this aloe amodin, and that's what gives it that what makes it beneficial for feline leukemia. Feline immunodeficiency virus, so the asamanin of aloe has demonstrated antiviral activity in vitro. Viral diseases in chickens, and also to increase the primary response of the heartworm vaccination. That's the asamanin as well. Now, when we look at its use of aloe in veterinary circles on animals based on the scientific literature, we're going to look at the gel, then we're going to look at the asamanin, and then we're going to look at the juice. So the gel, externally and internally, following surgery to aid wound healing. For allergies, eczema, abscesses, fungal infections, pyoderma is a bacterial skin infection, and many, many types of dermatitis. Conjunctivitis, that's inflamed membranes in the eyelid and the eyeball, and keratitis, which is inflamed red eyes. So using aloe gel topically for that. Also topically, herpes conjunctivitis in cats, and topically again, dental issues like gingivitis, periodontal disease, extraction sites. So if your animals had dental and they've had teeth removed, it can be helpful to apply the gel on those extraction sites to help with inflammation, to help with wound healing. Any acute mouth lesions and glossitis, which is inflammation of the tongue. Potential veterinary indications for asamanin, so this is that polysaccharides of aloe vera, FIV, feline immunodeficiency virus, feline leukemia, feline hypothyroidism, fibrosarcoma and other tumours as an adjuvant for vaccination, particularly the heartworm vaccination, and reoviruses in poultry. The aloe juice for uncomplicated constipation. Many, many plants also have nutritional benefits, and so aloe is part of that group. Aloe has vitamins A, vitamin C, vitamin E, it has B vitamins. It has a bunch of minerals, zinc, sodium, copper, potassium, manganese, iron, calcium, selenium, magnesium, as well as small traces of chromium and germanium. So that's all the kind of bits and pieces of aloe. And the science and the healing benefits. But like many other plants, it also affects certain meridians, which are energy channels in the body, and organs within the body, particularly the liver, the large intestine, the stomach, and the skin. And you'll see that based on the benefits that I've shared with you of aloe vera, the benefits match up with the meridians and the organs that run, the meridians that run through these organs, as well as the organs themselves. Now, with any herb, with any plant, with any thing that you're using to have medicinal or therapeutic healing benefits for your animals, it's always vital that you look at, are there any contraindications? Are there any cautions? Are there any drug interactions? Are there with aloe? Yes, there are. So starting with the contraindications, when using aloe to treat constipation, it should only be used when dietary change or bulk forming agents don't help. An example of a bulk forming agent is the very well known psyllium, another beautiful digestive supportive herb. Now, stimulant laxatives that contain aloe shouldn't be used when there is abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, intestinal obstruction, dehydration, chronic constipation, and inflammatory intestinal disease. The gel itself is okay though, it's just that contraindication when you're using a stimulant laxative. And that's kind of like for all stimulant laxatives, whether they contain aloe or not, they shouldn't be used in those situations. If your animal has cramps or colic or hemorrhoids or nephritis is inflammation of the kidneys, or undiagnosed abdominal symptoms, steer clear of aloe at least initially, and only use it for a short time. Long-time use can cause dependence, and so that can create chronic constipation because basically the colon becomes atonic. It loses its muscle tone or its strength, the muscle tone that is used in peristalsis to move waste through the colon. And then, if the colon's not working, no poo is coming out, right? So it becomes dependent, the colon becomes dependent on having this aloe in there for waste elimination. So be mindful that it shouldn't be used all the time for long periods of time. Long-time use can also result in electrolyte disturbances. There are cautions. Mainly sensitivity. So dermatitis or feeling of burning skin will be a sign that your animal has a sensitivity to aloe. My mum has a sensitivity to aloe. Another caution, it shouldn't be given to pregnant or lactating dogs. And the reason why that is because puppies shouldn't need it. And if they do get it via their mother, it can cause diarrhea. It does interact with some medication, so it can reduce the absorption of orally administered medications. That's because of the impact that aloe has. We're talking about the juice here, that it has on decreasing intestinal transit time. So it's just going to slow absorption down and the potential to reduce absorption. If you're going to use it, you should use it away from orally administered medications. We spoke about the problems with long-term use. Another problem is that it can cause low potassium, and as a result, it can interact with various drugs, increasing their effect, like cardiotonic glycosides, antiarrhythmic drugs, diuretics, adrenocorticosteroids, and licorice root. So if you're concerned, if your animal is on medication, it's always best to get veterinary advice as to whether aloe vera is safe. How do you use it? Now that you know all about it, how can you actually use it? If you've determined that it is safe to use for your animal, how can you use it? Well, the gel you can use topically for any skin irritation, rashes, insect bites, burns. You can use the juice internally for digestive support, but be mindful, if you're buying juice, please only choose 100% organic aloe vera, whether you're buying the juice or the gel, because you can buy aloe vera gel, but usually the gel has a lot of additives that should be avoided. Things like preservatives, sweeteners, flavors, chemicals, including the chemical aloin, which we'll talk about in a sec. You can make your own aloe juice. So if you've got some aloe plants, as I said, I've got a ton. So holler if you want a cutting so that you can start growing your aloe vera farm like I have. But you can make your own aloe juice. It's really easy. Get a tablespoon of aloe gel from the leaf, stick it in your blender with 30 ml of water, blitz it, voila, aloe juice. Alternatively, you can dilute it with bone broth and just add it to your animal's food. The general recommended quantity or dose is 1/4 teaspoon per 5 kilos of body weight. You can use fresh aloe vera gel for any external treatment. So grow your own aloe. And then when they've grown and they're ready, and they don't need much water, they're a really, really easy plant to harvest or to grow or to maintain. So pick the leaves, cut them off. Any traditional herbalist or any traditional plant loving person will say, ask permission of the plant first before you cut it. And let them know what you're going to use it for, and then say thank you. So cut those leaves once you've got the permission to do so. Wash them and then remove the outer layers of the leaf, or scrape the gel and apply the gel. Remember, test a small patch first to see if your animal has any allergic or sensitive reaction. And be careful when you're doing that. You don't want to tear the green rind of the leaf, as that can contaminate the gel and have a toxic effect. This is the same if your animal eats an aloe leaf, or God forbid, a whole aloe plant. The latex part of the plant contains the chemical I mentioned called aloin. And the latex part of the plant is the yellow layer between the green leaf and the clear gel. In large quantities, that chemical aloin can cause skin issues, diarrhea, excessive electrolyte loss, and it can also irritate the intestines. If your animal does eat a whole leaf, make sure they drink lots of water and keep a really close eye on them. If they start to show severe symptoms, call your vet, because vomiting may need to be induced. When using the fresh leaf, always use the fresh gel straight away, as the aloe oxidizes really quickly, so it's not going to have any benefit. You can store a cut leaf in the fridge, so you don't have to just throw it away. Use what you need, store the rest in the fridge for up to 3 days. You can also freeze the leaf. So there you have it. Aloe vera is not just great for us when we get burnt. It can also be really beneficial for our pets as well, but be mindful of those contraindications, cautions, and drug interactions. Now, a little reminder again, if you loved exploring aloe vera today and you'd like to explore more herbs in greater detail and get a bunch of video lessons, downloadable resources, comprehensive course manual, and really go deep on 4 super beneficial for herbs for plants, don't forget to check out the herbal sessions at ruthhatton.com/the herbal sessions. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode of the Natural Animal Podcast. If you did, I would love it if you would leave a review. And if you've just been enjoying the show generally, you can also leave a review so that others know about all the benefits that they can receive by listening to this podcast. You can subscribe or follow depending on which platform you prefer so that you never miss an episode. You'll get a little notification that there's a new episode live, ready and available for you to enjoy. And all of this helps with the algorithm. It helps Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Podbean, all the places push the show out to more people. And what happens when that happens? More and more people learn about the beautiful inherent value of all animals, as well as how to support our companion animals naturally and holistically. Thank you so much. Until next time, I sending you and your animals lots of love.